Most people imagine identity theft as something dramatic. A hacker typing fast in a dark room. A credit card suddenly maxed out. A bank account wiped overnight. That does happen sometimes, but that's not how identity theft usually starts. Most identity theft begins quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. It does not start with someone targeting you personally. It starts with information. Small pieces of information that already exist about you online. Pieces you shared willingly. Pieces stored by companies you trusted, pieces you forgot about years ago. Identity theft is not about breaking into your life. It is about walking through doors that were left unlocked. Let's break down how this really works. The first step in identity theft is data exposure. This does not mean someone hacked you directly. In most cases, you did nothing wrong. A website you signed up for got breached. A company stored data poorly. A service reused outdated security systems. Attackers found a weakness and downloaded a database. That database might include email addresses, usernames, phone numbers, passwords, or partial personal details. Millions of people at once. You are just one record among many. At this stage, nothing bad has happened yet. Your identity is not stolen. Your accounts are not empty. Your life is still normal. This is why most people ignore data breach notifications. They don't feel any damage, so they move on. This is where the real problem begins. Once data is exposed, it rarely stays in one place. It gets copied, shared, sold, traded, and stored. Sometimes it appears on underground forums. Sometimes it's bundled with other leaks. Sometimes it's used immediately. Sometimes it sits unused for months or years. Identity theft does not run on urgency. It runs on opportunity. The second step is data testing. Attackers don't guess what works, they test it. They take leaked email and password combinations and run them through automated tools. These tools attempt logins on popular platforms like email providers, social media sites, cloud storage, shopping accounts, and financial services. This process is called credential stuffing. It works because people reuse passwords a lot. If one site gets breached and you reuse that password elsewhere, attackers don't need to hack anything else. They just log in. From the system's point of view, it looks like a normal login. This is why identity theft often starts with email access. Your email account is the center of your digital identity, password resets, account confirmations. Security alerts, everything flows through email. Once someone controls your email, they can quietly take over other accounts one by one. They don't rush, rushing gets noticed. The third step is account exploration. Once inside an account, attackers look around. They check saved information, connected services, login history, recovery options. Sometimes they don't change anything at all. They just observe. This stage is invisible to most victims. They may mark important emails as read, create hidden inbox rules, forward messages quietly. The goal is to stay unnoticed while gathering more information. Identity theft does not require draining accounts immediately. In fact, doing nothing is often the smartest move for the attacker. The fourth step is identity building. This is where things get serious. Attackers start connecting pieces of information, an email from one breach, a phone number from another, an address from a public record, a birthday from social media. None of these pieces are dangerous alone. Together, they form a usable identity profile. Now, identity theft becomes possible. This is where attackers act as you. Many identity theft cases don't start with money loss. They start with control loss. You may still be able to log into your account. Everything looks normal. But behind the scenes, recovery options have changed. This is why identity theft often feels sudden when discovered. The buildup was silent. But phishing works best when attackers already know something about you. Identity theft feeds on familiarity. Profiles reveal connections, habits, travel patterns, workplaces, interests, and routines. Attackers don't need to stalk you. Buy now, pay later services. These systems rely heavily on identity verification, not hacking. If attackers can answer verification questions and receive confirmation emails or messages, accounts can be opened in your name without touching your existing bank account. This is why identity theft victims often find out late. Bills arrive. Credit scores drop, collections call. None of it makes sense because the money was never directly stolen from them. The damage happens in systems they never logged into. Medical identity theft is another growing problem. Using stolen identity details, attackers receive medical services, prescriptions, or insurance benefits. This creates false medical records tied to your name. The risk here is not just financial. It can affect real medical treatment later. Again, it starts with data exposure, not hacking a hospital. Now, let's address a common misconception. Identity theft does not require advanced hacking skills. Most identity theft cases involve no technical hacking at all. By the time identity theft is discovered, it has often been ongoing for a while. Regularly checking for breach exposure helps you act before attackers do. Now, let's talk about emotional impact because identity theft is not just technical. Victims often feel violated, embarrassed, or blamed. They may think they were careless. In reality, identity theft is a systemic problem. It is the result of scale, automation, and weak protections across the digital ecosystem. Shame helps attackers. Awareness helps victims. If